Namasri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Sachit Sukha Swarupaya Swamini Tapaharini. Our universe, more of a fiction and less of a reality. This is the topic for today. In fact, it is not more of a fiction. It is total fiction, no reality. But is that the case for us? No. God is fiction and the universe is real for us. So we have to make the universe unreal so that God becomes real. In the condition that we are in now, to make a statement like, world is unreal, it doesn't sound well and it doesn't go well with the people, how it is unreal. Because that is the only thing I perceive. I don't perceive God. Maybe God is unreal. But the reality is, the truth is, the world is unreal. Reality, God is real. So because we are in Maya, we perceive the universe as a total reality. And as long as the world becomes real for us, we won't be able to perceive the Lord, because He is hiding behind the creation, as it were. He is both, He is there in the creation also, but we don't perceive Him because He is hiding. In Advaita Vedanta, the classic example is given, the example of bracelet. When you are conscious of bracelet, you won't be conscious of gold. When you realize that bracelet is only a word, a sound, and then you see it as gold. But as long as you are conditioned by name and form, you won't be able to see the reality behind the name and form. The world of phenomena has name and form. We are conditioned by name and form. Because of that conditioning, we don't see the consciousness behind, or consciousness that is there in the world of name and form. Sri Ramakrishna used to tell the story. There was a farmer, he used to do farming. He had one son. One day when he was in his fields, his neighbor came and reported to him that his son was very sick. The farmer went home, but the son passed away. Only son, naturally. The wife was weeping. She was inconsolable. The neighbors were trying to console her, but the only son dies, how mother feels. But the farmer went and sat there, but not even one drop of tear in his eyes. So after some time, the wife looked at him. How come this man is so hard-hearted? Not even one tear in his eyes. Only son passed away. And she looked at her neighbors and told, see, this man has he doesn't have even one tear to shed for his only son when he passed away. And she went and asked me, what is this? How can you be so hard-hearted, so unkind, so bereft of feeling, without any feeling? The farmer said, last night I had a dream. In that dream, I was a king and I had 7 handsome and very accomplished sons, 7 princes. And then, now I am wondering, should I weep for those princes? Or should I weep for this dead son now? So he just said that. Sri Ramakrishna tells this story, very simple story. This world is actually as unreal as a dream. Dirgha sapnam idam vishvam Rama, Vashishta says to Rama. This world is long dream. In night time, the reveries and the dreams that we get are comparatively of shorter duration. This is a little long dream because it is an experience born of the mind. We have discussed this here repeatedly. Again and again, actually, we have told this, that because mind is fictitious, unreal, just based on ego sense, any experience born of mind also must be unreal only. As Swamiji beautifully says in his talks on microcosm and macrocosm, he says the nature of the human senses is they'll always go outward. Mind flows outward through the senses. The eye must see, the ear must hear, the tongue must taste, the nose must smell. So the senses always are outward bound. So we actually, when you see the world, such a huge, infinite, vast universe, the sun, the stars, the planets, the galaxies, the mountains, the rivers, the rolling rivers that are rushing towards the sea, the vast expanse of the sea, the meadows, everything, the trees, the birds, the creepers, all they attract us. The universe is so beautiful. So we begin our study only by studying the external world and external universe, because it's in the very nature of things. We study, we fathom the universe, we want to know the mystery of the universe, but we don't get it because partial truth we will get it. Because everything is truth, little of that truth is revealed to us, but not the total truth. So after long effort, the man turns towards himself in the sense that the inner man becomes more important than the outer world. Once you come to this conclusion, it is not the scene that fascinates you, it is the seer that fascinates you. Your attention has turned from the scene to the seer. It is I who certify the universe happening in my mind. The universe is happening in the firmament of my mind, then the question arises, what is mind? And the further investigation will bring you to the conclusion that mind is based on the ego sense. And then what is ego sense? And then you analyze that. You investigate as to the reality of the ego sense. Then actually when you investigate, when you drop that, it is only homogeneous consciousness, only God and nothing else. No creation has happened. That's why in Advaita text, the description given for the universe is world appearance. World appearance. There is only consciousness, but the matter is superimposed or projected on it. As Swamiji says, the history of civilization is progressive reading of spirit into matter. Today you see the matter because of the impurity, because of tamas and rajas in the mind. We see the physical world, the solid world, the tangible world for us, the material world. But the material world is not real, it's only consciousness. It is only God. So what is civilization then, human civilization? What is progress? Gradually you superimpose God on this material world, and then after a certain period of time, you will realize that experientially only God exists and nothing else exists. And Sri Ramakrishna in his Samadhi state experienced that all the physical world disappeared for him. It did not happen in dream. You must understand that when we were doing sadhana, consciously it happened to them. They were in full senses, they were in normal consciousness, in wakeful state. To deep spiritual sadhana, the universe disappeared for them. Vivekananda had that experience, many sages had that experience. After that experience, they come back and then tell us that this world is only a projection in the mind. It doesn't really exist. You just analyze about the nature of the mind, drop the mind, dissolve the mind, time disappears, the world disappears, and only God remains. It is happening to us every day in deep sleep, but unconsciously it is happening. To have that experience consciously is the goal of life. We have the story of Markandeya. I remember to have narrated this long back, but many weeks ago, many months ago. The story of Markandeya. Today's our topic is our universe, more of a fiction and less of a reality. It is more of a fiction and less of a fact. So the story of Markandeya Shaunaka, the sage Shaunaka, goes to Sutha and asks him, we have heard that sage Markandeya, who is born in our clan, this time is immortal. We have heard that he has attained immortality. In the last kalpa, when the whole universe was absorbed back into the unmanifest state, he did not die. Actually, he has attained immortality, they say. But to test it, to verify the fact of it, the dissolution has not happened as yet in this kalpa. Even if dissolution happens also, you won't be able to know because you will die, but the Markandeya will remain. So who has to certify that actually he is immortal? So this was the doubt of Shaunaka. So he goes and asks Sutha, and we are doubtful about this, about these incidents. Has he really attained immortality? Even at the end of kalpa, the whole universe actually is absorbed back into the unmanifest state. Will he survive even that cosmic deluge, that pralaya? That was the question Shaunaka had, and he asked Sutha, please explain us, please enlighten us about the story of Markandeya. So Markandeya actually is born into a very orthodox family, and so all the purificatory rites that they do for the boys those days and all were done to him. So he studied Veda and also he practiced continence. He, the not natural things that he has to sleep on mat, he has to sleep on bare floor, he has to carry that kusha grass as a sign of, that he is studying Vedas, the kamandalu, all those things, external insignia that a brahmachari was supposed to possess and have, all he had. And so he learned from his teacher, and every day at sunrise and sunset, he would worship the Lord in the sun, in the moon, the sky, water, earth, fire. So he would worship, and also in his Atman, that Lord actually as the indwelling spirit. That indwelling spirit, that consciousness, in a way, it is actually Nirguna Nirakara Upasana. He would do that, and also he would meditate on the Lord as Vatapatra Sai. Vatapatra Sai, that was the form he liked. So he meditated in his own heart the Lord as sitting on, sleeping or lying on a banyan leaf. So he would meditate on it. Okay, let them sit, don't disturb. Hello, great man. So he would meditate on it. Such intense tapas he had practiced, not for 1 day or 2 days, 1 month, 1 year. His tapas went on. For almost actually, Vetitaya Mahan Kalo Manvantara Shadatmakaha. 6 manvantaras actually he had practiced that kind of tapas. And then naturally Indra felt jealous of him. Indra of that manvantara felt jealous of him. He was surprised at his spirit of austerity. And so naturally we have seen in so many of Puranas this. Gods become jealous if somebody practices severe austerities. Because gods, they don't want human being to become God. They don't want human beings to realize the highest truth. Because then you would transcend them also. So Indra became afraid that actually that his position would be at stake. And this man actually is coveting my post, he thought. So he sent his emissaries. His emissaries, who are his emissaries? Cupid, Manmatha, and also Apsarasas, Gandharvas. So he sent them from Swarga, heaven, to disturb the concentration of Markandeya. So they all came. It was all gentle breeze. Nature was very, very serene. Manmatha came, and Punjikastali Apsarasa came. She started dancing, and she wanted to entice him. And Gandharva started singing, and Manmatha shot his arrow. But nothing of that could disturb the deep concentration of Markandeya. He was so deeply absorbed in his meditation. So they tried, but they failed. But they were just like, when they were trying to entice him like that, he was about to open his eyes. That time, the spiritual aura that covered Markandeya, they were afraid. They saw that and they became terribly afraid of that. the Ara was so bright, and they thought actually they would be burned by that spiritual Ara, and so all emissaries of Indra ran away from him, unable to disturb his concentration, unable to disturb his focus. His splendor, his radiance was so brilliant. In the Bhagavata it is said that Militaksham Duradharsham Murtimantameva Analam. So Markandeya was just like fire actually took a human form, as it were. His radiance was so brilliant, the splendor, because actually of deep meditation for 6 long manvantaras he had practiced strictly meditating. He went into samadhi, he was in deep samadhi. So they could not disturb the concentration. Indra felt ashamed, and because his emissaries could not disturb him, and then after that, Lord appeared to Markandeya as a result of his intense tapas for such long period of time as Nara and Narayana, the perfect ascetic and the perfect man, perfect human being. Lord actually wanted to shower his grace upon him. He appeared before Markandeya. Markandeya, seeing the Lord in front of him, became very happy. Or there were horripilations on his body. He was totally, overpowered by the deep emotion of love and reverence for the Lord. Because it's not such a small thing, right? He had practiced his austerities for such a long period of time to have this darshan of the Lord. So he fell prostrate like a stick before the Lord. And then he offered arghya, he offered padya. Then all the unguents, he worshipped the Lord. And then the Lord said that, I am immensely pleased by your tapas and penance. Please seek a boon. Generally, when the Lord comes and appears before us, what we will seek? We will seek mukti, right? Liberation. That is the only thing to be aspired for. But this Markandeya, when the Lord appeared before him, had expressed a very surprising desire. So he said, Oh Lord, I want to experience your Maya. I want to experience your Maya. The Lord says, Tathastu. And then the Lord disappeared. I want to experience your Maya. So, in another story also, that also here we have discussed many times. When Narada wanted to know what is Maya, once actually Krishna sends him, on an errand, he sends him, bring 1 tumbler of water for me. And afterward, that story we all know. More or less same kind of story here also. So Markandeya was sitting in his ashrama in the Himalayas. So Purvabhadra river, on the bank of the river, one day, just like normally he was sitting. So Lord had promised me that he showed that he would make me experience Maya, he would show what Maya is. Suddenly there was a storm. The elements were on fury. So he slowly after the storm set in, dark clouds came and engulfed him. It started raining. Not ordinary rain, downpour, torrential downpour. He was waiting that the rain would subside, but there is no sign of actually subsistence of the rain. So the thunder and lightning, streaks of lightning, the sound of it, peals of thunder continuously, the gale, the wind, and the elements were in such fury, he thought actually it would abate after some time. He was waiting, but there is no sign. All the 4 oceans actually were beaten into huge waves by gutsy winds. And so, everywhere water after some time. Because for months together actually it rained, and then Markandeya was surprised. Everywhere water. See, once actually when everywhere were covered by water, he actually could not see the universe, could not see the galaxies. Everywhere he could only see water and water. It was terribly dark, pitch dark. And in that darkness actually he was groveling actually. He was moving here and there. The aquatic creatures were biting him sometime. He was actually overpowered by thirst, overpowered by hunger. He was tired, actually worn out. Sometimes grief, total grief. So he was just floating on waters of that cosmic deluge. And he doesn't know in which direction to go, because everywhere it's water and it's so dark. And for years together actually, he floundered on this cosmic deluge. He floundered on the waters of this pralaya. And after a long time, one day he saw on a high ground a banyan tree with fresh leaves, fresh flowers. On its branch towards the northeast, on a leaf he saw a wondrous infant a small tiny baby. And there was bright light emanating from that wondrous infant. And everything was become, all this darkness actually got dispelled. And he felt joy seeing that infant. And that infant, actually, that was the form on which he would meditate. So seeing that wondrous infant, he was about to approach him. And he approached, he went near. And no sooner did he go near the infant, than actually he was absorbed into the infant, as if he were a mosquito. He was absorbed into the infant through the nostrils. And then inside, lo, he saw only the same universe. He saw the stars, he saw the planets, he saw these mountains, the forests, these oceans, rivers, meadows, agricultural fields, cowsheds. Everything he saw inside the body of that infant. His ashrama, everything. Everything appeared to him inside. And so he was wondering and looking at all this actually in disbelief. Is it I am, or is it something dream, I am passing through dream? But before he could come to any conclusion, again, when through the exhalation of that infant, actually he came out, and again he saw the deluge. Deluge, and also the banyan tree, and also the Vatapatrasai. The Lord actually, the infant sitting on the leaf. And again actually he was so happy and so joyful to see. Again he came near to embrace, and the Lord disappeared. And also the cosmic deluge disappeared. He was back in his ashrama. Now you tell me, is this a real experience or a dream? When he sat on the bank of the river in his ashrama, it did not happen in the night actually. He was in full normal consciousness. He was just sitting on the bank. The storm set in. Rain started coming. And he was waiting. And that rain actually increased, and everywhere deluge. And in this actually he had seen all this. For years together he roamed, for 10,000 years or more than that, we do not know how long he wandered forth in that cosmic deluge. And he had this darshan of it. So the Yoga Vasishta is clearly mentioned, and Swamiji also in that lecture Cosmos he mentions, time is not there in consciousness, time is there only in mind. Kala tad upadana karanam, Bhagavatam says. Taking time as instrument, Lord creates this universe. So time is there only in mind. When the mind disappears, there is no time. Time and space exist only in the mind. Time and space, they don't exist in consciousness. Consciousness is beyond time and space. Using time as instrument, actually, Lord creates this universe. So in soul, in consciousness, there is no time. So how many years had passed? Thousands of years had passed in this cosmic deluge for Markandeya. And again he came back to his ashrama. So he came back to his ashrama, and now actually you have to tell me, is this a real thing or is it a dream or reverie? Don't think it is dream or reverie, it is real. That experience was real. Time disappeared for him. So Yoga Vasishta, that's why it says, the Lord actually in consciousness, one epoch becomes 1 minute, and 1 minute can become an epoch. So there is no lower limit and upper limit there. That's why Lord has created this universe. For us actually many yugas have passed, and we are in the 7th manvantara now. There are another 7 manvantaras. After 14 manvantaras actually it is the end of one day. Again actually night will set in. Brahma's day will be over. It is the end of Kalpa after 1000 Mahayugas. That means after 14 manvantaras. We are in the 7th manvantara. So all this time, for Lord actually it is just fraction of a second. So we blame sometimes the divine, the cosmic consciousness. Why actually is making us suffer? Birth after birth, we have to suffer. We have to undertake so many embodiments. After many births, actually, we will come to the truth. Actually, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapatyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudallabha. Lord Himself says that Bahunam Janmanam Ante. After many births, a wise man actually looks towards me. Why is the case? Why can't we realize the truth now itself? Because of Maya, because of Tamas and Rajas. Kali Yuga means the age of Tamas and age of Rajas. And we don't even know that we are in Maya. We don't even know that we are in bondage. Liberation, the question of liberation, the question of mukti and freedom arises only when you understand the nature of Maya and the nature of bondage that we are in. But we have not even figured it out. We don't even realize that we are in deep bondage. Only when you understand that you are in deep bondage, the struggle to come out of that bondage, the struggle to become free arises. And we are so stuck in Maya, and we are sunk so deep in the Maya, and we are not even aware that we are in Maya. So the first thing and the foremost thing is to know that we are in Maya. Swamiji says clearly in many of his talks that the very fact that we have got an embodiment is a proof that we are in bondage, we are not free. Freedom doesn't belong to this physical realm, freedom doesn't belong to this psychological realm. When you have a physical body means, when you have mind means, you are bound, you are in bondage already. So only freedom belongs to consciousness. Consciousness actually is the life principle which animates these two. In the same lecture, Cosmos, Swamiji says that actually, body is actually insentient matter. There is no intelligence in that. Mind is also insentient matter. Intelligence cannot exist in insentient matter. Intelligence always belongs to consciousness only. That intelligence of God, the Lord, consciousness, is percolating through, is actually reflected, a little of it is reflected through these insentient things, namely the body and the mind. The Kadhopanishad, that beautiful mantra is Natatra Suryo Bhati na Chandra Tarakam Nema Vidito Bhanti Kutoyam Agni Tameva Bhantam Anubhati Sarvam Tasya Bhasa Sarvamidam Vibhati. Because he shines, everything else shines. The moon also appears very bright, but there is waxing and waning in moon's light because it's a borrowed light. Moon borrows light from the sun. It's not actually original light. Moon is not self-luminous. So there is only one self-luminous entity in the world, that is God or consciousness. Everything else actually borrows light from that consciousness. So it is only reflected consciousness. Because reflected consciousness, it waxes and wanes. Sometimes it shines well and sometimes it becomes dim. Same is the case with the body and mind. So it is that supreme principle, supreme consciousness, which is lending its power to these insentient objects and make these objects as live entities. But there is no life in physical body or in mind as such a thought. Because of the presence of the Lord, because of the presence of consciousness, these inanimate objects, inanimate bodies, non-self-resplendent bodies become self-resplendent as it were. So the time exists only in Maya, in the mind. When you transcend the mind, there is no time. That's why no blame attaches to God. God escaped all accusation from this in a way. So we can, as jivas, we can blame our Creator, we can blame our Father. Why have you put us in bondage, this kind of bondage, which is tormenting us, which is so troublesome, which is so painful? And Lord says, no, see, when have I put? And we may say that actually for years together I have been suffering in this transmigratory cycle. For us actually is infinite number of births, countless number of births, many yugas, mahayugas. For all this mahayugas is just like a trice, fraction of a second for the Lord. That we understand when you experience samadhi. Because when you transcend the mind, time itself disappears. Then all the experiences, past birth experiences, countless lives of experiences also gets condensed into a fraction of a second. Practically, you did not suffer anything. Practically, neither you suffered nor you experienced any great pleasure also in this world. The pleasure that you experienced for many births, that also becomes unreal. The suffering that you have experienced through many births also become unreal. Because the time itself condensed into, an epoch gets condensed into a small fraction of a second when actually you transcend the mind. So, that's how actually he has escaped, because he is beyond time. He is Kalatita. So universe is happening in Kala. But the Lord is Kalatita. But our Kala is different and his Kala is different. Because in consciousness, the time doesn't exist at all. That actually, which is millions of years for us, could be a fraction of a second for the Lord. One smart boy, very good devotee of the Lord, he practiced a lot of, prayer, and he implored the Lord, appear before me, and the Lord, out of his compassion, children are very guileless, Lord appeared before him, very smart child. So when the Lord appeared before him, the child asked the Lord, Lord, what is 1 billion years for you? The Lord said, it's like 1 second for me. And then the child asked him, Lord, what is $1 billion is for you? The Lord said, it is 1 penny for me. The smart kid asked, oh Lord, please give me 1 penny. The Lord said, wait for a second. Right. So this is actually. So the time is not there. In consciousness, there is no time. That's how actually Lord escapes all blame. You can't blame Him for this reason. Because He is beyond time. The universes are happening in time. Our birth is happening in time. So to transcend Maya, the only thing is dissolve mind. The Lord says, mind is Maya, it dissolve it. Dissolve it and see whether I have created the world or not, you will know. But we want to be in Maya and we blaming the Lord. Lord is saying, you transcend Maya and see. And whether you have really created something. No. He has absolved Himself of all this blame through this. That's why it is fiction. The universe is not real. The universe is unreal. That's why they said Maya. Actually, in all our scriptures, is come this word Maya, but we take it very lightly. Swami said Maya is not illusion. Society people, when you say that Maya means it is kind of illusion, Swami clearly says in his Jnana Yoga talks, Maya is not illusion. Maya is a statement of fact. That we are in delusion, we are in Maya, because there is no other equivalent word in English. Simply they use the word illusion or delusion, but it doesn't explain the word Maya. There are many such words actually in Sanskrit for which there are no English equivalents, like Maya, there is no equivalent. Dharma word, no English equivalent. Shraddha, no English equivalent. Tapas, no English equivalent. The other day I translated as penance, and our students actually checked on web dictionary, and then they came out, Swamiji, this is penance is a kind of self-punishment imposed. It is there in the dictionary, self-punishment, right? So for the word tapas, actually, there is no equivalent word. Austerity can be used, but it is also not the nearest word. So Maya, when we utter this word Maya, day-to-day parlance also, what strikes us first is Maya means illusion. No. We are in Maya, it is a statement of fact. It is a statement of fact, that is a real statement. So to transcend Maya should be our goal in life. And what is Maya? The simplest definition is mind is Maya. Now how you will transcend Maya, how you will annihilate Maya, and that is up to you. Which sadhana, which practice that you adopt, through meditation, through prayer, through selfless service, purify the mind, purify the antahkarana, make it sattvic. Ahankara, actually Rajasic Ahankara, transmute itself into sattvic Ahankara. Then you will enjoy peace. And when it becomes fully sattvic, you will be able to drop the mind. The mind disappears, and then only consciousness remains. This is the mystery, the profound mystery of the universe our sages have discovered, and that knowledge and wisdom they have passed it on to us and asked us actually to go for that kind of experience. But as Swamiji said in that beautiful talk, Cosmos, Macrocosm, the external universe actually attracts our attention first. We study it, we seek happiness in it through many ways, but we don't get the expected peace or happiness or blessedness or fulfillment. And then after a long struggle, after many births, we turn the attention on ourselves. The inner man becomes very important. See, now actually you are listening to me. I am speaking and you are listening, right? How it is happening? I am just actually producing some sound. The sound waves are entering through your ear pinna. And then that ocular nerve takes the sound to the brain center. And brain center also is not capable of giving the knowledge. And that is actually presented to buddhi. And buddhi presents it to the Atman. And only when the Atman is there, buddhi can act, this brain can act, or mind, and this ocular nerve can function. So the external ear is only an instrument. We think actually through ears we hear. No, there is an instrument. The ocular nerve should be there, and then that should take that sound to the mind, and that mind actually has to refer it to buddhi or the faculty of discrimination. Oh, Swamiji has said this. So this is the meaning of it. You are making the meaning in your intellect, in buddhi. So I am only making some sound, and the sound goes into your ear. So all this process, for an object when you see, for example, I am seeing this microphone, the light is falling on this microphone, and then inverted image actually falls on my retina, and that is taken by optical nerve to the brain, and that brain actually is taken to the faculty of discrimination. Because already I have seen this before, it is there actually, impression is already there. Immediately this impression is tallied with that impression, old impression, because then the intellect says that this is microphone. It is all happening in such a short time that we don't really actually analyze how actually knowledge comes to us. So the external instrument actually is not the real instrument. Sometimes the eye is intact, but actually optical nerve got damaged, let us say. So, but you don't see anything, you can't see anything. The optical nerve is damaged, you can't see anything, but the external ear instrument is fine. And also, sometimes you're reading a book, okay, you're reading a book in your library, and you are so deeply absorbed in reading the book, somebody came and called you. Somebody came and called you, but you did not listen. You did not listen to that and you have absorbed in the book. What happened there? The people actually called you, the sound waves entered through your ear pinna, and actually the sound actually was carried through the ocular nerve to your brain center, but the mind is engaged in another action. The mind did not pay attention to that, and that's why, though the thing happened, you did not hear. So the mind need to be there. The inner instrument is more important. And then as the buddhi, and then there is beyond the buddhi, there is this Atman or consciousness. That is actually the reality of our personality. That is the truth about our being. And because of that only we exist, because of that we breathe, because of that the mind functions, because of that the senses function. And because mind functions, the universe appears. So what is the reality about our personality? It is only the soul and consciousness. The only thing is, it is not in our full awareness now. It is not our full experience. That is the problem. So how to bring that awareness into our full experience? How can we realize the truth about ourselves? So our rishis have given us the methods. Bhakti, for Kali Yuga, bhakti, reading of a book like Bhagavata, as many times I have told, actually will create the divine samskara, the sattvic samskara. The tamas will go away, the dross will go away, the impurity in the mind will go away in the form of tamas and rajas. The purification will happen. Antakarana has to become purified. In the beginning, we will have to struggle a bit because there are a lot of impurities in the mind in the form of tamas and rajas that has to go. That will go through sadhana, it will go. As the antakarana becomes purer and purer, you will be able to apprehend the truth. You will be able to experience the truth which is already in us. Each soul is potentially divine. That potential divinity has to become manifest. So we are so close to the truth yet so far. It's very actually perplexing, in fact, puzzling. So close to the truth. Nothing is close to us than the Lord. Nothing is real actually than the Lord. But still, we experience duality and differentiation. So Markandeya asked the same to the Lord when he said that I want to experience Maya. He says, Drakshe Maya Yayam Sapala Veda Sadvidam. I want to know, experience that Maya, because of which even wise people experience duality and differentiation in homogeneous consciousness. Even wise people, even learned men, people who have attained to high degree of purity also see differentiation. And I want to know about that Maya of you, O Lord, actually, how it all happens. So this bracelet, as long as you are conscious of the bracelet, you won't be conscious of gold. As long as you see the world as name and form, then you won't be able to conscious of, you won't be able to perceive consciousness in your awareness. So it is important that we need to superimpose God on everything we see. That is actually, we can use it as a sadhana. Isha avashamidam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat. In that beautiful lecture, God in Everything, Swamiji asks us actually, explaining this verse, Isha avashamidam sarvam yat kincham jagatyam jagat. So superimpose God on everything because it's only God who exists, but because of this Maya, we see the world as matter, consciousness as matter. So we have to undo the error. How to undo the error? Superimpose God. So whatever you see that this is a reflection of God, this is an image of God, this is an emblem of God. Everything that you see, whether a tree or an animal or an insect or a human being, everything superimpose. Go on doing this, day after day, day after day, day after day. And after some time, in the beginning it is only an intellectual idea, but after some time you will see only consciousness. Like, canvas and a painting on its canvas. Now you are only aware of the painting, you are not aware of the canvas. And so now actually you superimpose God and everything, and afterwards you will be able to see both the Lord, the consciousness, and also the object that is superimposed on consciousness. Afterwards the object gets totally dropped and you become only aware of consciousness. Inside consciousness, outside consciousness. Antar Rama, Bahir Rama. So everything is only one homogeneous entity, one homogeneous God. And then the question, why did God create the world? Why such a miserable world? Why such a troublesome world? All that, and the answer actually, you will get it for yourself. So it's not actually something which can be sought intellectually. It has to be known by experience. That experience comes to you through this kind of sadhana. So this is an error that has happened. You see differentiation and duality, multiple forms, though it's only one consciousness. You just see, the different pots are there. Let us say you carry the pot from one place to another place. Does the space within the pot also move with the pot? You think it moves. No. Space is everywhere there. There cannot be any movement in space as such. Like that consciousness is everywhere there. That yadachita na yajati. It moves not. Where it has to move? Only when it is there. Everywhere it is only there. How can it move? But there is motion in it. That motion actually again is because of Maya. Time and space both are because of Maya. They are superimpositions and consciousness. They are not real. And that we will come to know, that we will understand only through experience. There is no other means. Sadhana and sadhana and sadhana. So, afterwards this Markandeya, that story is quite long actually, you can read in Bhagavatam. And one day he was sitting just there. I will just cut the long story short. And he was in meditation, in deep meditation. After Narayana disappeared, Shiva and Parvati, they were going in the sky. And Parvati sees this man actually, Markandeya, absolutely tranquil, not even a ripple in his mind. Like a calm sea, where there is no wind, no wave, nothing of the sort. And seeing him, she was surprised, and she asked the Lord Shiva, oh, this is an exceptional sage. Maybe he has some desire, that's why he is practicing this penance. Please go and give him boons. Okay, as a fruition of his tapas and austerity. Then the Lord says actually, he has attained to parabhakti, this devotee. He has no desire. He will not seek any boon from us. Okay, let us go and ask him. Shiva comes down along with Parvati and stands in front of Markandeya. But Markandeya was so deeply absorbed in himself. Actually, his whole self got dissolved. The homogeneous consciousness he was experiencing. But he was totally oblivious of the appearance of Shiva and Parvati there in front of him. And then Shiva actually suddenly appears in his heart, in the space of his heart. Suddenly, as in meditation, he saw Shiva actually in his heart. And then he wakes up, and in front you see the Parameshwara and Parvati. So he prostrated before them, he worshipped them. Then Parameshwara asked him, seek a boon actually. Then Markandeya says, what boon I can see, O Lord? I am totally self-fulfilled. If you want to give some boon to me, Bhagavati achyutam bhaktim tat pareshu tathatvayi. Give me devotion to the Achyuta, to that Lord Achyuta, to his devotees, towards his devotees, and also for you. Give me devotion. That is the only desire I have, and I don't seek anything. So, that self-fulfilled beings, they don't seek, they don't desire anything from this world, because once you get God, there is nothing more for you to seek. No other desire will remain in your heart. That is actually total fulfillment. That's why self-realization. Know thyself, know thyself, know thyself. This is actually the buzzword in this culture. If you know yourself, you know everything. That's all. It's as easy as that and as simple as that. So we shall stop here for today. From this week onwards, the class will be only from 5:45 to 6:30. We have shortened it by 15 minutes for 3 reasons. One, this is a philosophy talk. The attention span of the present generation is only for 15 to 20 minutes. More than 45 minutes means it is a kind of lathi charge. So I don't want to trouble you. Right. The second thing, you will get some time to go to washroom and refresh yourself before you can come for Arati at 6:45. And the third, you can just sit here and meditate also. So, this is okay, 45 minutes talk? That's right. Radhaksha Maharaj instructed me that shorten it by 15 minutes. I thought it's good because philosophy is heavy and to pay attention for 50 minutes is not an easy thing. But you all have been so patient and you have that extraordinary capacity you have developed It is always, difficult to listen and easy to speak. Particularly Vedanta. Very easy to speak, but very difficult to listen, to comprehend, to pay attention. You have been listening for many weeks and you are able to absorb the ideas, I believe. So we shall go a little slowly. This is enough. 45 minutes talk is long enough. So we shall meditate for 2 minutes before we disperse. Om